lot of conversation over the last year about the switch from OTC traded derivatives to exchange traded derivatives. I'm here with Jeff Maron from MarkitSERV, and I really want to start diving into the issue of sort of pre-trade certainty and clearing in this new marketplace. Jeff, what's your take on all this?
Thanks for asking. It's actually a really good topic to discuss right now. As people move to trading on SEFs and other electronic platforms, they don't always know who that counterparty is. Therefore, they're getting very concerned that they want to make sure that the trade's going to clear, that the FCM who represents the other side of that transaction is going to pick that trade up at the clearinghouse. They want to know when they look on a SEF or like an e-commerce platform that all the prices that they see there are actually prices that can be done. And if they lean on those prices to do a trade for a client or to hedge a transaction, they need to know that ahead of time that they have certainty that that trade's going to clear, regardless of what size it is or what market it's in. It might be in an illiquid single name CDS that clears. It might be in a more liquid interest rate swap. But if you take a look at how the markets have developed, it's always been, I know who you are, I call you up or you call me, we do a trade. It starts the bilateral trade. If we choose to put it into the clearinghouse, that's our choice. But even if it doesn't get accepted by the clearinghouse, by an FCM, we have a relationship with each other. We can manage that.
And the new market, I mean, the regulations are almost leading towards driving a wedge between that. They don't want us to know who's across the table. It's supposed to be almost a blind market now, even though it's lit with price information and real-time sort of transactions. There's real imperative that you don't know who's sitting across the table because of the information exchange that's required, correct?
Correct. And it's unfortunate that we're changing the dynamic of the market and we're moving away from a relationship market. Yes, it's good that it's many to many. Yes, it's good that you've got price transparency and pre-trade liquidity is there. You know how much you can do. You can look on a screen, sort of what we have in equities today.
Right.
However, by moving to that market dynamic, we've lost a bit of what's made the swaps market so valuable. There's always been a futures market and a swaps market trading side by side. There's been a reason for that. And part of the benefit of having the swaps market is you and I can construct a transaction that meets our mutual interests. If I'm a natural hedger and I need to have a certain start date, a certain end date, certain cash flows, you're able to construct that trade and look to what the price would be for that.
Right.
We can mimic that with RFQs on a platform and more standard transactions we can do in a central limit order book. However, at the end of the day, if I've lost sight of who my partner is in that transaction, it becomes much more of a vendor relationship, and then you lose trust. We really need somebody to stand in the middle. That's what MarkitSERV has done by creating Credit Center, which allows us to let the market know, regardless of what clearinghouse you use, what FCM you use, or where you execute the trade, you'll have that certainty of execution.
What are the mechanics of pre-trade certainty then? What does an end user or a corporate need to do to make sure that whatever they're going to transact, there is some sort of pre-trade certainty that I'm not going to get a fail?
That's a good question. What you need to do is make sure that the SEF or execution venue that you're using is hooked up to Credit Center. You need to make sure that the clearinghouse that you're using also provides their feed into credit. And you also need to make sure that the FCM that you work through to reach the clearinghouse is also a part of it, and they're flowing the credit lines that they've given to you through the Credit Center so we can allocate that wherever you choose to trade. If you don't do that, and if they allocate it, they may allocate a third of your credit line each to 3 different clearinghouses, but you may want to use half your line for a trade. You can't do that. They may allocate it a quarter each to 4 different SEFs. You may want to trade on a 5th SEF or a 6th SEF that's out there. So you need a mechanism that allows you to control where your credit lines are going so that you can use them when you want to.
So as an end user, you have to take a more active interest in your trading activity.
I think we all need to do that. We all need to become more educated consumers. We all need to take a more active interest. We now have people moving from just having one FCM to having 2 or 3. Right. We all need to invest a bit of time and effort in due diligence and risk management to make sure that our transactions are done in a way that the new market supports. We can't rely on the old relationships that we used to have.
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting topic to follow for the next 12 to 18 months. Jeff, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.